Hey, welcome to What Humor. I'm Paul.
And I'm Travis.
We're going to do a main review of episode 1. We've let the episode sit in our consciousness for a few weeks. We've scoured the internet for some of the funniest memes about episode 1, and we're going to have fun talking about them. Let's get into it. We're going to be talking about spoilers of anything that happens in episode 1 of the TV show and how it relates to book 1. So if you have read book 1, you should be good to go on this. We're going to do our best not to preview anything past the events of book 1.
Or episode 1.
Or episode 1. All right, let's get started.
Absolutely. In this first scene, we're watching these two men running. And we don't know what they're running from at this point. But then all of a sudden it's going to pan to this beautiful scene. Man, the cinematography on this show is amazing, is it not, Paul?
It is. If you look in the distance, you'll see that some of these big towers here are actually old buildings that haven't toppled over.
Oh, man, I didn't notice that the first time I watched it.
Yeah, it's actually more apparent after when you can see the perspective from Moraine in the other direction. They turn and wander off, and there's a shot of old buildings. But that's old buildings right there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you know what? And when you look at this scene right here, man, look how Leandra just throws her hand for it, and all of a sudden a bunch of rocks start falling, man. I thought that was wow.
That was an amazing shot.
I also like this scene right here, like when he looks over and he notices his buddy's not there. It's just kind of like, it's like, I'm not dealing with these witches. You're on your own, my friend.
Yeah. And we get to meet Leandrin. Leandrin does not have a part in book 1, so she is a character that will show up in future books.
Absolutely, and I like that they brought her though into the first episode because
Absolutely.
It's starting to help build because she is one of the main Red Aja that we get to meet throughout the series.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to say any more about her on that note, but she is this scene right here and the way that she just like, oh, he's already mad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the look of just absolute disgust that she has for this man willing the power, and later on in that scene when she walks up and she says, "This power isn't meant for men."
Yeah. She's got one of those personalities where you can love to hate her, you can hate to love her, and
Yep.
all combined, and she's a great actress for that position.
Absolutely. And then here we have Nynaeve and Egwene. This whole scene seems so intimate.
Yeah, and she's just had her braids done there, and she's at peace and so much harmony.
Yeah, the smile on her face tells it all. She's like, oh, and then you've got this, and then,
boom, off into the river. Such a thing there.
Oh man, and then she's flowing into that river. She's like, let the river control you, or
yeah,
or give into the river or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, you were telling me earlier this evening. You're like, what if there was rocks right there?
Yeah, book 2 spoiler. There's a scene in which everything flickers from one reality to another, and in another reality, Egwene goes and gets pushed off, and her head hits the rock and splits open like a melon. I've won again, Luz Theron.
Oh man, this scene was just so well done, and I feel like it's a really foreshadowing scene, and it's showing us a lot about some stuff that might happen later, and if you know anything about the power and how it works, you'll catch on later about what I'm talking about.
Non-book reader friend watching episode 1. Is that what it's like to become a woman? Other non-book reader friend. Yes, every month.
Where'd you come up with this?
That one.
Where'd you come up with this meme at, Paul?
That showed up on Reddit.
Oh man, that's great. That's perfect line.
Yeah. All right. So Lan comes in here, and the only issue I have with this whole scene, when Lan comes walking in, he walks in with his hood up, and if he had done that in Shannara, he would have 100 arrows in him.
Absolutely. And this is in book one. When you're up in the borderlands, you have to show your face to everybody.
Exactly.
Because
you
otherwise,
don't walk in like
you're
that.
a fade.
Seriously? That is bad protocol, Lan.
Absolutely. I do like how like Nynaeve is like no BS. She just walks right up there holding a knife. Identify yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And we the scene right after this when Lan announces Moraine, the way that she just walks right out of the shadows, like he's like, how many hours did they spend planning that? The whole ride into town. Hey,
well,
look, you go in.
In 20 years, how many towns has Moraine visited in which she's walked into whatever communal hall they have in that town, probably in exactly that same way because, well, she's a lady of privilege, and when somebody like that walks into a country
They must be announced.
They must be announced.
I mean, I was surprised there wasn't a trumpeter on the side of that.
Yeah, seriously. All right. Well, the hot tub scene.
Our first real intimate scene.
Definitely enjoyed seeing this.
Absolutely. I mean, I gotta say, man, that shot right there kind of makes me feel less of a man.
Yeah, I have to admit, he is a much better specimen than I am.
I can agree with that, man. I mean, that guy is in good shape.
Yes, he is. I really liked that he asked to make the water hotter.
Yeah.
It's just this simple thing for her. She hardly even has to think about it.
I thought that was a really funny. I just really liked how he's just like, well, it could be hotter. Yeah. It's like, well, how hot do you want to make it? Yeah. And then the way he sits back and he's just like, yeah, that's how I like it, baby.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the Wine Spring Inn is famous for the wine spring pools, and so of course they are built into the inn, which makes this a bit of a tourist trap for people who happen to get completely lost and fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah. Why are you here in the Two Rivers? I took a wrong turn back, somewhere across that river over there.
But still a nice attraction for the locals to go to.
Absolutely, and you had been talking to me about like how that wine spring actually comes from the local quarry.
Yeah, there's a quarry right above it there, and there's a natural spring that comes out of it. And as far as I can tell, it's a hot spring, but apparently not hot enough.
Apparently not. I mean, I thought there was a little bit of innuendo in that statement. We could always make it hotter. And his smile is just so good. Her smile right there, you can just tell these two have got such a intimate relationship but it's almost like they're still best friends.
Yeah. But, I'm not sure best friend. No.
Yeah, maybe not best friends, but they're definitely. You can tell they've been together for a long time.
20 years.
Yeah.
20 years, and he still looks like he's 24.
And I think they did a really good job at keeping the warders looking very young, and like they almost kind of in a way ageless, just like the Aes Sedai.
I expect that if they last long enough, they can live at least somewhat longer.
Yeah.
Partly because they're constantly being healed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Of everything. Cancer,
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's part of the warder bond.
Yeah.
Because Aes Sedai, in the books, it hasn't really explained it so much here in the shows yet, but the books, Aes Sedai have long lifespans. The stronger you are in the power... Was it the strength of the power, or was it... Because Cogswine wasn't...
No, well... I could go way into spoilers about what that has to do with, which you learn about in Crown of Swords.
Yep. See, again, Paul is our encyclopedia. Like, I read all the books many a time, I've listened to him, but Paul, this guy right here, it's like, he knows the chronological order of the book and everything. I know the story, he knows how it happened.
Yeah. Something I really enjoyed here, and there's controversy in it, is Matt Cawthon, my best and poorest customer. A lot of controversy over Matt's background. Is he a thief? Is he not a thief? His dad is a horse trader.
So
I've never met an honest horse trader.
Absolutely no. I've never met an honest horse trader. Let me tell you, man. It's it's like that dirty salesman that you always go. It's car salesman. It's the same thing. It's like, the horse trader is car salesman of the past. And but I love this interaction between Patton Fane and Matt Cawthon, because it's just like it really brings out Matt Cawthon's personality in the show. And in the book he's a little bit more. He's definitely a prankster in the books, but he's a lot more naive in the books. Is what in the beginning. All three of them are way more naive in the beginning of the books.
Absolutely.
But like what I really liked about this interaction between Patton Fane and Matt Cawthon, I was a little bit on a controversy note.
Yeah.
I was a little bit like, what are they doing?
Either way. Go either way
but
here.
But I really liked it. I really felt like it was a good way to introduce Patton Fane as a character as well. And then having Matt come up there, and he had that little bracelet from the little hottie that he stole it from the night before.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you spot that. He spotted it there when dicing. And
Yeah.
He's like, ooh, hey.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you know what? If I don't have any more money to gamble, I'm going to go get some more money.
Yeah.
And then I love how later on...
And we'll come back to money here.
Yeah.
But as at this point in time, Matt has zero, zilch, nada,
Nothing.
none. He lost it all gambling.
Absolutely. And that's totally a Matt Cawthon trait, as we learn later on in the books. The one thing is that I also really liked about this interaction was that, like, it really gave a good chance to show how, like, Matt ends up trading that bracelet away for those 3 lanterns, and like Patton Fane, it shows Patton Fane's intimate knowledge of the characters.
Mm-hmm. He knows how many.
Exactly. And he's like, oh, you need 3, I'll give you 3 lanterns, one for each of your sisters and for your mom. Or was it for his mom or for him? For him and his 2 sisters. I was trying to figure out the 3.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really good, because in the books we learn, especially early on in book 1, we learned that Patton Fane also has a mission.
Oh yeah.
Just like Moraine, and but he has a deep, intimate knowledge of these characters,
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really good way to introduce that knowledge in this book, because as always, this is an adaptation of the book. And there's been a lot of controversy with some of my friends that I've talked to who are really angry that they feel like some of the scenes have been, some of the show is like not like the book, but
Yeah.
And you
You
can't do it. It's like was it you that was talking to me about the first Harry Potter book?
Yeah. First Harry Potter book was about as close as I've ever seen to a book being adapted scene for scene into a movie, and it is by far the worst Harry Potter movie. And I don't think I will find a single person on YouTube that disagrees with me on that.
I do not think so either, man. And it's just like, and if you even look at the critical reviews of the movies, it didn't get very good reviews on that, and a lot of people made that as comments. I remember when I watched that, and I think that really ties in to to help people understand why you have to have an adaptation. This is not the Wheel of Time as Robert Jordan wrote it. This is the Wheel of Time. It's a story based on the Wheel of Time,
Yeah,
So.
and it's compressed into roughly 8 seasons of 8 episodes apiece, and maybe we can convince Amazon to extend that to 10 episodes for future seasons.
I would really like to convince
so.
Amazon to maybe do this instead of 8 seasons, maybe do 10 seasons at least.
Yeah,
Because I understand
10.
a 14-year running series is going to be way too long for people to wait for an ending.
We can skip a little of the slog.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh gosh, that's going to be easier later on. The first book is nothing but fun. Another note before we move on, Paul, that another huge complaint that I've heard from a lot of people is that they're saying that they're moving it along like too fast, and this whole chasing thing for the first 3 or 4 episodes so far.
Mm-hmm.
But that's exactly how it happened in the book. So I mean, I don't understand why people are complaining about that.
It was a bit of a page turner just because of how fast things were happening. There was Trollocs always on their heels,
Constantly.
and just constantly, and so I can see why they wanted to create this rip them out of the Two Rivers as fast as you can possibly tell the backstory and get it going.
Absolutely.
You got a long ways to go.
Because I mean, if they're going to be compressing it like they're doing, into these like 8 episodes, I mean, like so much stuff in the first book alone, like so much things happen. So I mean, like, I think they're doing an excellent job. I just want to throw that out because I was one of those people that was very worried in the beginning about how this series would go.
Yeah.
And not having the, like, and I read a lot of reviews and stuff too,
Yeah.
And so I was really nervous at first, but now I am like,
yeah.
the show is just getting so good. Anyways, let's move on.
So yes.
Oh yes.
Lan is out in the forest and he comes across a giant comma made of goats. I noticed almost immediately that there seems to be some copy pasting going on because that one and that one.
Absolute. Look at that.
They're
mirror images of each
they're
other.
the same.
And I even as you bring that up, Paul, if I was noticing when we go over this scene here that there was a couple of other ones that like it was the same exact goat but just turned a little bit to the right or left.
Yeah.
Not
quite sure, but they may be doing some camera trickery.
I think that they're getting a little bit lazy.
Absolutely.
But also on that note, can we talk about it again?
Sure.
On that note, going back to this scene, now this doesn't happen in the books, right?
No.
That we see.
But
Lon was out scouting.
He was.
But for those people who want to know a little bit
of... He reported signs of Trollocs.
Exactly. For all those people...
There it is.
Exactly. For all those people out there who are wondering what this... Because there's a lot of people out there that are watching this show and they don't know the iconography of the story, right? These goats are all laid out in half of the Aes Sedai symbol, which happens to be the yin-yang. And you'll notice throughout the whole series, so far in every show except for one of them, I have found another example of them bringing up the half teardrop. Mm-hmm. All right? And it's and for you, it's yin yang is the little circle with a squiggly line and 2 dots, usually black and white. And it's the same symbol for the Aes Sedai when they were Sidon and Sidar.
Yep.
We can move on now.
Padan Fane sitting there enjoying his drink and watching the party. He was expecting this, wasn't he?
I would say so. And on top of that, I love how they did this scene because, I mean, like, he's not just watching it, not cowering. He's literally got a smile on his face. He's got his drink. He's like, let's just sit down for the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. He is enjoying the product of his work.
I like this meme right here. This is exactly what we were just talking about,
Exactly.
And this little smile on this girl's face, like, yeah, I did that. I like to watch it burn, baby. Yeah. Oh man, this detail right here on this. Oh wow, look at that mouth. Oh, look at her mouth. You know what? My mouth's bigger than yours.
I think that Trolloc was showed up by a much larger mouth. Maybe not physically, but yeah, she's a bit of a badass, even though she was not the one that killed that Trolloc.
I love that scene. That's just and it just shows how fierce Nynaeve is.
Yeah.
Nynaeve is such a tough chick, man. I mean, like, she's the kind of woman that, like, all of us have a friend that has that, like, a woman that's so strong and powerful in our lives, right? And they have that, like, fierceness that you just don't want to mess with.
Yeah.
And Nynaeve just definitely shows it out right there. She's like, I will freaking mess you up, man. Don't you be hurt my little sister. Even though Egwene is not Nynaeve's little sister, but it's like the feeling, the way that she's just
apprentice.
Like, she's holding. Yeah, don't hurt my apprentice. She's just sitting there grabbing that moment. You notice how she's like holding Nynaeve at that moment, or Egwene at that moment right there.
Yeah.
Brandishing that knife and then screaming at that Trolloc. I mean, it shows that protectiveness that she has over the people who she's the wisdom for, and I really appreciated how they brought that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's this? Oh gosh. I know where this is going.
Yeah, this is getting mamified to death.
For those of you, again, comparing the book, the relationship to the book, to the series, now this is the first time in the series that I was just like, what? I mean, earlier on when he gets introduced to his wife,
yeah,
like in the books, Perrin doesn't have a wife in the Two Rivers, and I was like, this is the first time in the show that I was just like, when I was watching the show, I was recording myself and my reactions to the show so that I could maybe use them later.
Yeah.
Right, and I had to just stop the show. Pause the show. I had to get up and walk outside and go for like a 5-minute walk because I was so mad. Why in the hell did he need to kill his wife, right? But, I mean, for the show's purposes, I'm sure this is foreshadowing for something. I don't know yet, but I'm guessing that this is foreshadowing for something in the future along in the show. And, I mean, this whole scene right here is just like, the look on his face right there.
I know.
I just got caught. I just got caught.
I done effed up.
Oh man! And
yeah,
God!
Him breathing like that.
Could you imagine that, man? I mean, like this, the absolute like horror. I mean, we're both married men.
Yeah.
And we both love our wives extremely. I could not imagine killing my own wife. And earlier in the first scene with Laila and Perrin, when he comes back in and she's working on the bellows for the forge, when he first wrapped his arms around her, it looked like for a second that she was pregnant. And so I'm not 100% sure if she was or not, because when I see it later, her belly looks pretty flat suddenly.
Yeah.
But just imagine if she was, and like he put that, he kills his wife and his first possibly his first child, man. I mean,
there was very purposely camera shots that showed her belly multiple times, and that's where Perrin held her from.
Yep.
And so that leaves to all kinds of speculation. Was that a double kill?
Yeah.
Double kill!
Oh man, it's.
He had just gotten
monster kill.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. He had just like first time he just murders that Trolloc, and it's also awesome to watch how badass his wife is, because his wife is over kicking those Trollocs' asses, man.
Yeah.
And then but in the heat of battle, it's just like any kind of movement behind you, you're just gonna react.
Yeah.
And the way that he reacts right there, and then he's just like, that moment is just, it's so powerful. I mean, regardless of the fact of how mad I was that Perrin had a wife and then kills her right in the first episode,
regardless of the trope that it is.
Exactly. I was reading this article actually, and there's this term that I'd never heard before called fridging. Mm-hmm. Right? Have you heard that term before?
Yep.
And I remember thinking to myself, I was like using the death of a woman to bring up the man, and I just thought I was just like, I imagine how many memes you could make out of that statement.
Robert Jordan trolled other authors' styles in his books, and he made a point of it, and that is absolutely something that he might do, is take a trope and make fun of it.
Absolutely. And this scene right here, and and you're right, there are a ton of memes. That was one of the first memes I came across after the show had come out, was different memes about this whole scene here. I did not actually see this meme right here. That's to divorce your ex-wife.
Ileana, my love, we have guests. Luz Perrin Kinslayer.
And it's funny because we often refer back to Ileana, and we realize that in this meme it says Laila, which was Perrin's wife's name.
Laila, yes.
But it's funny because we keep coming back to this. For those of you who have followed us so far, and you've seen our first video that we put out, that we actually did another meme about Ileana and Luz Perrin's Kinslayer. See, it's already catching me. It's Luz Theron Kinslayer.
I wish Rand were here. He always knows how to treat women.
Also, another one of the things that we will constantly bring up because of the relationship between Rand always thinks that Perrin or Matt would be better with the ladies, and Matt always thinks the other two would be better with the ladies. So this is perfect, right? Sure, wish Rand was here. He always knows how to treat women, and that's
clearly you've had a failure here.
Epic fail.
Don't do that. Oh God.
What do you got for me now, Paul? Oh yes.
Nynaeve. Should take the advice from the movie The Incredibles.
No capes.
No capes. No braids.
Yeah. Don't give yourself a handle.
Don't give yourself a handle.
Oh man, that scene was so epic, man. I mean, like, and it just totally shocks you. Again, if you've read the books, you know that Nynaeve, the way they cut Nynaeve out of this scene is completely different. She's actually, when Rand comes walking into town in the books,
she's in there trying to heal people.
Yeah, Nynaeve and Egwene are working together to heal people, and or not heal, but to
their version of heal.
Yeah, their version of healing, because they haven't learned how to do any powers or anything. But this whole situation was a great way I felt like for the series to take Nynaeve out. I mean, and the mystery of, like, you don't get to see her do anything else for the whole rest of this episode. So as far as everybody knows, she's gone. She's dead. A Trolloc just dragged her off and went off into the smoke and disappeared. That's all you know.
I think we're gonna see some of these the unknowns get answered here.
You know, and I think so, and I think that, like, when I watched that scene, I was not convinced that Nynaeve was gone, but the way that they're talking later on at the end of the episode, when or maybe at the beginning of another episode, so I'm not going to get into that too much, but I'm just going to say that, like, they did a really good job at making you think that she was just out of the story.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, if they take Nynaeve out of the story, I'm going to be so mad. All right? And so... You know
she has to be taken out of the story in order to show up at roughly Shadar Logoth.
Exactly. And this scene right here is great. Before you even start playing this scene, let's just get into the still form of, like, she's just, like, got her arms spread out, and, like, just, it's so epic. And then, yes, the wine spring in, crumbling to the ground. Paul?
Yeah, she's using it as, like, her own personal machine gun.
Exactly, man.
She's got all of this air to control things. She can pick stuff up and throw it all over the place.
And there's another scene right before this where she's her lawn dancing around her, like, just, and I really liked that scene, the way that it totally fulfilled the warder Aes Sedai bond.
Yeah.
Like, you have the warder just running right around in circles around her, just doing, killing all the Trollocs while she's using the power to throw it this way and that way.
It's the stuff of legends.
Absolutely. And the other thing I really liked about that whole situation was, like, speaking of the air, was when she threw that axe right up in, as Lawn passes that guy, and he's fighting the Trolloc right beside him, and then she's just like, as an afterthought, she's just like,
yeah,
you ain't got nothing on this.
You're done. The huge beams that she pulls out.
Oh, yeah.
Just incredible. And it's...
And see, for those of you, again, who haven't read the books, you don't get... This is what I'm really liking about the series, that they're really, like, going around and showing you scenes, because you don't get to see the Battle of Edmund's Field or read about you only get to read about the aftermath in the books.
Yeah, all of this can't be in the book, because it didn't occur. What we saw was Rand walking back into a destroyed village.
Yeah, and I have to say, if you actually like pay attention in the books, the village doesn't actually take very much damage because they went straight to where they needed to go.
Yeah, it was
And-
the blacksmith, and it was the Ibarra place,
and
and
then
it
the
was,
Cawthon place.
the Cawthon place,
And then Rand's place, of course,
and
which
Rand's place.
you know, and I did like that you got to see a little bit of. I was really bummed out that Narg didn't show up at Rand's place, Rand and Tam's place, but I did like the scene. I like how they stuck true to Tam getting sick. You know, right from the blade. 'Cause he only got like that. I mean, it was a lot more wicked in this series than it was in the book. Like he just got cut on the arm.
Yeah.
In the book, it was like it was even kind of a shallow cut, is what they made it sound out to be, because of the Trolloc poison.
Yeah.
You know, and this whole scene
gnarly.
with Moraine getting that dagger in her shoulder, and then she just keeps fighting.
Yeah.
Oh man! And in the books, again, as a comparison, Moraine never got stabbed in the books.
No.
Right, but I did like how they used that in the show to kind of just show how powerful these Aes Sedai are, because you notice like that one old man when that Nynaeve and Gwaine are dragging off when she when they first get attacked by that first Trolloc, the first person they're trying to help.
Yeah.
I mean he just got cut once and died immediately from the Trolloc poison. So I thought they were going to kill Tam off right away when Tam got that blade, and I was like, no, don't kill him off. And
that was a bit worse of a wound there.
yeah, so I really was like, how is it that this old man died from the Trolloc poison, and then Moraine goes and walks around for the next, like, however long, until she finally gets, healed later on. We did it, Lon. We saved the 2 rivers. Patrick and SpongeBob just sitting right there.
All right, which one's Moraine and which one's Lion?
I'm honestly going to say that Moraine is SpongeBob. And because, I mean, like, and Lon is like, is Patrick, because when you're looking at this thing, she's like, his arms are just out, just like Moraine's arms were, man.
Yeah.
And
it must be.
And I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking to myself, like, as everything's burning down back here, it's like we just destroyed the whole town, but we did it.
And so then, when they get ready to leave the 2 rivers, and the Trolloc army starts coming down the hill, so one of you may be the Dragon Reborn.
And then who the fuck starts a conversation like that, man? I just killed my wife.
Well, we kind of need to go.
I mean, like, the way that she just says that, like, right out, man, it's unbelievable. It's like you're just sitting there and it's... I remember, have you ever listened to the Audible version of the books?
Yes.
Did you listen to Robert Jordan's the interview at the end of it?
Yeah, talking about creating...
the series?
The series and Myth and Legend.
Yeah, do you remember the line where the one of the questions they asked is like, or she's talking about, like, how did you come up with the story and all that, and Robert Jordan says, well, I wanted to imagine, and I remember listening to his voice, Robert Jordan's got a very distinct voice. I wanted people to imagine, these guys are farmers. Now, always in the stories when farmers, when we talk about prophesized individuals, they always seem to come from, like these rich, powerful families, right? And they're always ready to just go and, save the world. But if you're sitting in a country town and you went up to a farmer and said, hey, by the way, you're the Dragon Reborn, the most, like, infamous character in recent history, and, now I need to come save the world, he'd be like, yeah, you know what? Hold on a second. I need to go to the restroom real quick. And then he sneaks out the back door.
Yeah.
And when I saw this, when I saw the show and now looking at this meme, that's exactly the conversation I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Right? Because like that's exactly like how like
we had that conversation in the book with Rand.
Yeah.
And so that conversation was, yes, we've saved your dad, but you need to go now or this village is going to be overrun.
Absolutely.
And it was a little bit more visual there in the TV show with the horde of torches coming down the hillside.
Man, that was epic. I mean, like, just like looking at how far away they were, right? But it felt like they were right there, and
they're coming fast.
And and just like in the books, like they really did run out of the they ran out of Two Rivers really fast. I mean, you have like a brief moment when they stop in Devon Ride for just a second.
Yeah.
And then they're at Tarrant Ferry, and then they're crossing the Arenell.
Arnell.
Arnell, is it?
Yeah,
Is it the
yeah,
Arnell that they're
yeah,
crossing
it's the
right there?
Arnell.
Is that the one that they cross from Tarrant Ferry that goes over to on their way to Barrelone?
Uh-huh.
We'll talk about that in the next episode because Travis is very upset that we didn't go there.
Yes, we will. And with that, I'd like to conclude by thanking you very much. If you made it all the way to the end, please subscribe and
Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. May you all find water and shade.